Outside the Abbey, the bells of Westminster, which had begun to peal at the moment of the Queen's crowning, were sending their joyous message across the rooftops of London, and every head was turned to the royal doors of the annex for the moment when the Queen, in all her robes of sovereignty, would appear.
What a magical moment this will be. Her Majesty the Queen. The loveliest sight I think I've ever seen, as this young and gracious sovereign lady, with the glittering imperial state crown upon her head, stood for a moment at the top of the annex steps. And now she is in the state coach. And the coach moves.
The great journey had begun. The procession that would carry Her Majesty through the heart of London back to the palace. But already, the procession of the Queen Mother had reached Trafalgar Square.
And the Blue Jackets band there was sounding the royal salute, of course, for the glass coach containing Her Majesty the Queen Mother and Her Royal Highness the Princess Margaret. Those two lovely royal ladies looking radiantly out upon the vast popular concourse which acclaimed them here. And now the band swinging up Whitehall, the band of the Grenadier Guards turning in under Nelson's column.
Half an hour after it left Westminster Abbey, the state coach passed St. James's Palace.
The Queen is coming past her palace of St. James, this ancient palace on whose gateway I stand. On the Tudor gateway, looking up St. James's Street, one of the most famous streets in the world. And now to St. James's Palace, the golden coach out of the storybook is coming. And in it is the beautiful princess, the delightful queen of fable and reality.
The journey continued along Piccadilly, through Hyde Park, and thus to Marble Arch, the arch that once stood as a massive gateway in front of Buckingham Palace.
And as they swing to the right, there's a great change in the scene, an enormous contrast, because they're leaving the spaciousness and the graciousness of Hyde Park and moving between the high cliffs of buildings which form Oxford Street. They're turning out of Hyde Park and going into the heart of commercial London, the London of shops, the London of stores, the London of offices. And there's a riot and variety of decoration. Flags of all nations are rippling from the masts at the top of the buildings. There are coats of arms. One store has a huge equestrian statue of Her Majesty the Queen, as we've seen her when she was present at the Trooping the Colour. There are flowers in window boxes. There are vivid lengths of coloured cloth concealing the grey lines of the buildings. There are national emblems. There are portraits of Her Majesty. And everywhere the royal monogram, and everywhere crowds. Every window is packed. The roofs are absolutely lined with people. And down in the street below here, there are crowds upon crowds of people, not in stands. This is not a place for stands. They're lining the road 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 deep in the park, and as deep as the pavements will let them, round by the Marble Arch and down Oxford Street. And they haven't got long to wait now for this moment that they've been waiting for, some of them since 4 o'clock yesterday. Because into view now comes the state coach. This is the tiptoe moment. This is the moment that they've been... Goes in that direction. Every head moves towards that.
The great procession of marching men moved on its way through Regent Street and Haymarket towards the Mall and the end of its journey. It was a world in itself, this procession, for all the countries of the Commonwealth were represented there. Canada, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Pakistan, Ceylon, Southern Rhodesia, and all the lands of the colonial empire.
Bringing up the rear are men of the Gibraltar Defence Force, marching beside the representatives of the Jamaica Battalion. Now there at the head of the second formation are 4 colors of the Malay Regiment. These men who have served in all parts of Malaya look very striking in their white uniforms and green sarongs. 7 of them are wearing decorations awarded during the emergency. Behind them are representatives of other Malayan forces. Now here comes a line of the Fiji military forces, tall, fine-looking men with splendid heads of hair. They're wearing scarlet tunics and white sulus, and their sandal legs are bare. In the war against Japan, they earned the reputation of being the best jungle fighters in the world. In the third formation marched the 12 officers and 77 other ranks of the King's African Rifles in red and black fezzes. And with them are the men of the Northern Rhodesia Regiment. And there go the soldiers of the Kenya Regiment, which you'll remember was inspected by the Queen when she was in East Africa last year. Now the Somaliland Scouts in koalas and pugnees, and all the other East African services in bush hats. At the rear of the colonial contingent are the representatives of the naval forces from Sierra Leone. But before that, the last of the military formations go by. 20 officers and 119 other ranks of the Royal West African Frontier Force, units from Nigeria, the Gold Coast, Sierra Leone, and the Gambia. They're a splendid group of men in their fezzes and zouave jackets, marching with that rhythm. And at the rear of the colonial contingent are the representatives of the naval forces from Sierra Leone, from Mauritius, from Malaya and Hong Kong, as well as units of the Royal East African and the Royal Malayan Navies. In their blue uniforms, they complete a proud contingent of soldiers of all races from all the corners of the earth who have come thousands of miles by air and sea to take part in this brilliant coronation procession.
At last, the Queen came home, and the cheers that had echoed through the streets of the capital followed her here to her very doorstep.
And now, our last glimpse of it, this superb royal state coach. It's ridden through London town. What adjectives are left to us to describe it? There are the paintings, the glowing paintings by Cipriani that represents the triumph of Britannia. There it is in all its lovely jewel splendor. And there is Her Majesty the Queen with the Duke beside her. And here are the final glorious uplifting cheers that greet her as she returns home.
And so, through the palace archway to the sovereign's entrance and the last fanfare of the day.
Fanfare sounds, the echoes ring back from these sturdy walls, and the Duke goes forward to meet his Queen. Now he stands back, and here she is, stepping onto the crimson carpet in her long, flowing robe of purple with the ermine edging. The maids of honor gather it delicately, gently in their hands. She turns to smile, glad perhaps to be home, glad to see her friends again on her own home soil. The Duke hands her her scepter. And those cries echo the feeling in all our hearts as we welcome home Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Meanwhile, outside, with troops no longer lining the processional route, great crowds were sweeping up the Mall and massing in a vast throng at the gates of the palace.
This is now the magnet to which the whole of London seems to be drawn. And what a fantastic crowd this coronation crowd is. Men in grey toppers, ladies in slacks and shorts, and the shout going up all the time, "We want the Queen!" Everybody who's watched the procession near the Mall, near the Abbey, is now trying to press close to Buckingham Palace. It'll be our final chance to acclaim Her Majesty. The windows open at the balcony room, but Her Majesty will not come out. The crowd will do its very best to encourage her to come, but she'll not come out until the moment comes. And I'm looking all the time from my vantage point on the Victoria Memorial away to the south. But the fly-past is due. And now, that moment has come. Here she is in all the splendor of her coronation robe and the imperial state crown, standing on the balcony, being acclaimed by London town.
Half an hour later, and more than 7 hours since the Queen had left the palace in the morning at the start of the great day, the Royal Air Force paid its own tribute, a salute of which the thunder drowned even the people's cheers.
And who could imagine a more glorious finale to a day? Here's the scene. Thousands and thousands of people flooding still down the Mall, pressing up against the railings, crowding the Victoria Memorial, hats waved, flags waved, and on the balcony, this glittering scene. A glimpse to us who heard and watched of the splendors in the Abbey, and still overhead the squadrons fly. Salute to Her Majesty.
And in the quiet of the evening, the people of Britain and the Commonwealth heard a voice they knew, that of Sir Winston Churchill, as he introduced Her Majesty the Queen.
We have had a day which the oldest are proud to have lived to see, and which the youngest will remember all their lives. It is my duty and my honor to lead you to its culmination. The splendors of this 2nd of June glow in our minds. Now, as night falls, you will hear the voice of our sovereign herself, crowned in our history and enthroned forever in our hearts. Let it not be thought that the age of chivalry belongs to the past. Here at the summit of our worldwide community is a lady whom we respect because she is our queen, and whom we love because she is herself. Gracious and noble are words familiar to us all in courtly phrasing. Tonight they have a new ring in them because we know they are true about the gleaming figure whom Providence has brought to us, and brought to us in times where the present is hard and the future veiled. It is our dearest hope that the Queen will be happy, and our resolve unswerving that our reign shall be as glorious as her devoted subjects can help her to make it. We pray to have rulers who serve, to have nations who comfort each other, and for peoples to thrive and prosper free from fear. May God grant us these blessings. The Queen.
When I spoke to you last at Christmas, I asked you all, whatever your religion, to pray for me on the day of my coronation, to pray that God would give me wisdom and strength to carry out the promises that I should then be making. Throughout this memorable day, I have been uplifted and sustained by the knowledge that your thoughts and prayers were with me. I have been aware all the time that my peoples, spread far and wide throughout every continent and ocean in the world, were united to support me in the task to which I have now been dedicated with such solemnity. Many thousands of you came to London from all parts of the Commonwealth and Empire to join in the ceremony. But I have been conscious too of the millions of others who have shared in it by means of wireless or television in their homes. All of you, near or far, have been united in one purpose. It is hard for me to find words in which to tell you of the strength which this knowledge has given me. The ceremonies you have seen today are ancient, and some of their origins are veiled in the mists of the past. But their spirit and their meaning shine through the ages, never perhaps more brightly than now. I have in sincerity pledged myself to your service, as so many of you are pledged to mine. Throughout all my life and with all my heart, I shall strive to be worthy of your trust. In this resolve, I have my husband to support me. He shares all my ideals and all my affection for you. Then, although my experience is so short and my task so new, I have in my parents and grandparents an example which I can follow with certainty and with confidence. There is also this. I have behind me not only the splendid traditions and the annals of more than 1,000 years, but the living strength and majesty of the Commonwealth and Empire, of societies old and new, of lands and races different in history and origins, but all by God's will united in spirit and in aim. Therefore, I am sure that this, my coronation, is not the symbol of a power and a splendor that are gone, but a declaration of our hopes for the future, and for the years I may, by God's grace and mercy, be given to reign and serve you as your Queen. I have been speaking of the vast regions and varied peoples to whom I owe my duty. But there has also sprung from our island home a theme of social and political thought which constitutes our message to the world, and through the changing generations has found acceptance both within and far beyond my realms. Parliamentary institutions, with their free speech and respect for the rights of minorities, and the inspiration of a broad tolerance in thought and its expression, all this we conceive to be a precious part of our way of life and outlook. During recent centuries, this message has been sustained and invigorated by the immense contribution in language, literature, and action of the nations of our Commonwealth overseas. It gives expression, as I pray it always will, to living principles as sacred to the Crown and monarchy as to its many parliaments and peoples. I ask you now to cherish them and practice them too. Then we can go forward together in peace, seeking justice and freedom for all men. As this day draws to its close, I know that my abiding memory of it will be not only the solemnity and beauty of the ceremony, but the inspiration of your loyalty and affection. I thank you all from a full heart. God bless you all.